Welcome in everybody Saturday morning here at Fantasy Firebox. As always, I'm your host, Tony Jigsaw Cutillo. And again, it's Saturday. It's going to be a glorious weekend. I always say that because, just like Jason knows, I'm a wrestling guy, right? So the glorious thing comes from my man, Bobby Roode. But all in all, last week was a very interesting week, right? So we have to really pick up, basically pick up our shoes, put them back on, and see exactly what week two is going to bring. A lot of talk out there, right? A lot of talk. What's up, Adam? As always, checking in. A lot of talk about, hey, listen, Calvin Ridley, man, only 5 for 51. What's going on there? But for those people who like to talk, I also like to point to the fact that, hey, what did Devontae Adams do too as well? So a lot of different things here, a difference of opinion, going across the board. But number one, first and foremost, I love doing this on a Saturday morning. Feel blessed, got up, great day. Number two, sign up, Win Daily Sports. You see the promo code right there. Okay, NFL 2021, get a 6 month membership and get $100 off, giving away free months. I mean, there's so many different things going on at Win Daily Sports. You got to check them out. The projection models are off the charts. Again, there's people winning every single day, and I'm just trying to help you formulate your opinion to hopefully get your winning ticket. So today we're going to talk about some sneaky plays, I like to call them. So, I usually do baseball on Saturdays, but here's what I'm going to do. Okay, we're going to do football on Saturday and Sunday, and baseball is going to just be for picks. I will throw some picks out there later on this afternoon for that 7 o'clock slate, but I want to focus predominantly on football right now because it is our bread and butter, right? So we will do some sneaky plays and some value picks, and then tomorrow we'll do a show that's just simply predicated on stacks, some interesting stacks when we're talking about obviously quarterback, wide receiver, and running back, maybe even a sprinkle of a tight end in there. So let's get right off the snide here early on a Saturday morning, and let's go with some quarterbacks. Now, what I did was I broke this up. Instead of going through every single person, again, these might not be the stars that you expect. Okay, but these are guys, number one, guys that I really like the matchup on, certain games we're targeting. I think we could all look at this slate and understand that number one, there's a few games that are very easy to target, and one of them is going to be the Minnesota Arizona game. I think that's something that you're going to get a lot of stock in. Obviously, I don't think it's no secret how bad Minnesota is on the defensive end and how good Arizona has looked. I think that's an easy play. I think you're looking at the Cleveland Houston game. I think that's another game that you may want to look at. Okay, and then maybe the Chargers Dallas game as well, because Dallas showed again that their defense is non-existent except for those stud linebackers they have still learning how to play together. So let's go right off the bat and talk some quarterbacks. Adam checking in. He's my Philly guy. Again, Harper MVP. You're right. Listen, Harper's been carrying that team, Adam. So we'll see what happens with the Philadelphia Phillies for sure. But let's get right into the quarterbacks. Okay, right off the bat. Let's go, my man, Justin Herbert. Okay, Justin Herbert. Again, there was a lot of speculation last week. Tough matchup for my man. Okay, I think we all knew that going in. But again, it's week one. You don't bench your studs. And the Washington defense wasn't mind-boggling or mind-blowing here. They didn't blow us away. So I was a little interested to see that they weren't as good as we thought. I think the most intriguing thing about Justin Herbert was the lack of running that he showed. So, and again, I'm not saying he's a running quarterback, but he's known to be out of the pocket. But I think last week they bottomed him up just enough to where he had to use his arm completely. 337 yards, 66%. Yes, nothing to sneeze at, but 1-on-1 touchdown interception. I think everybody's expecting, a couple touchdowns at least per game, but he did throw the ball 47 times. So that's something that we have to look at. And this week, when we talk about Justin Herbert, again, we're looking at that matchup. We're looking at the matchup against the Dallas Cowboys, something he can exploit. So if you look at the quarterback position, who's going to be led right now in DFS by Kyler Murray, okay, he's going to be the top guy at 8,200. Again, you're looking at a guy like Justin Herbert and you're looking at that savings. You always have to look at the savings, right? You have to look at the savings. I'm going to say it again. That's a huge savings. We're talking $1,500. So you can use that money somewhere else. Now, I'm not saying don't take Kyler Murray. What I'm saying is these are some sneaky, intriguing picks when you're building your lineup. And that's why I'm throwing them out there. Baker Mayfield. Okay, we just talked about saving 1,500. How about saving another 700, $2,200? Baker Mayfield going up against the hapless Houston Texans. Now, everybody that wants to kill Baker Mayfield, okay, please understand that he had a really good game. Whether he choked or not at the end, it doesn't matter. He was efficient. And this is what I keep trying to tell people. Baker Mayfield is not going to go out and throw 4 touchdowns a game. He will have his spots when he does. Last week doesn't throw any touchdowns, but he threw for 75%. Here's what's going on. OBJ is hurt, not playing. Now, I don't even know if he's going to be active again this week, but he started to get more people involved. Here's what I will say. He goes up against a Kansas City Chiefs team, loses 33-29, but 21 of 28, 75%, hits you over 300 yards and still gives you 17 DraftKings points. Now, again, think about that. If he gives you a couple touchdowns, you're talking about him in the 25 to 30 range. So he has the ability. When you're building these lineups, you have to look at these opportunities and say to yourself, do I want to go all in with the top guy, or can I get away with going with a decent mid-range value to give me basically 90% of what that top guy is going to be, but then formulate the rest of my lineup with some studs at the receiver and the running back position. So this is what I'm looking at in Baker Mayfield. $6,000. I think this is a great value, a tremendous value when you're talking about the quarterback position. My man Andre checking in. Tony Brady, it's a sneaky pick every week in the NFL. Yeah, it is, brother. It's sneaky. It's. I'll tell you, there's so many sneaky picks within the NFL that you just break these down and you can find them. And that's the thing. People don't want to look to find them, but I'm here to look for you and to show you, and hopefully they hit. Right? That's the biggest thing. Hopefully they hit. Now we're talking about, how about a sleeper in rookie Mac Jones? Yes. Mac Jones, will he be fantasy relevant? That's what a lot of people have been asking. Will Mac Jones be fantasy relevant? Well, if any week he's going to be fantasy relevant, it's going to be up against the New York Jets. Now, I like what I've seen out of Mac Jones. We just talked about Baker Mayfield at a 75% completion percentage. How about Mac Jones at a 74.4 completion percentage, at a 102.6 passer rating? Gives you 16 points, 281, and a touchdown against the Miami Dolphins, who already know Brian Flores has a really good defense that is keyed in on that rookie. This week, he faces the New York Jets, a fantastic spot. And again, value. It's the name of the game. 5,400. I can guarantee you tomorrow when we do this show, we are going to have multiple stacks with Mac Jones included for the New England Patriots. I think this is a great play this week. If you're going to go all in on receivers and running backs and possibly a top-tier tight end, Mac Jones is your guy. It's ballsy, it's bold, but I absolutely love it because I think this is the kind of pick. Again, low ownership, big value, gives you that winning ticket every week. It's what you want to do. Adam checking in says, oh, there you go. Already, Adam already let me know Odell not playing this week, which means it's going to be another week for guys like a Rashard Higgins and a guy that I'm going to mention later to step up for the Cleveland Browns, and another guy to absolutely shoulder the load in the passing game. And we're going to get to that very, very shortly. So why not talk about these value plays? Why not look at this team, okay, and say, you know what? What the biggest thing is, you have to make your mind up and you have to decide right off the bat. Is it going to be the top guy or is it going to be the base guy? And that's the biggest thing when you're formulating this DFS lineups. And we're going to get into that when I start the DFS Academy, hopefully this week, when we do these little videos that explain to you guys how we formulate what we do, what we look at, the trends that we look at, the analytics that we look at, the matchups that we look at. There's so many different things to break down, but you have to dive into these lineups. You have to dive into these rankings and these numbers, and you have to figure out who you can pull at the right price. So again, Herbert 6,700, I think, is your top play. That's not Kyler Murray. Mayfield 6,000, and I think you can really formulate some decent lineups around Mac Jones at 5,400. Now let's get to the running back position. And I think there's a lot of really good plays. Now, I just talked about, the Cleveland Browns. You had our man Adam second and saying Odell is not playing, they're saying. So if that is the case, you're going to have to look at another Cleveland Brown person to shoulder the receiving load. And what better way than to have that in a running back position than Kareem Hunt? Now, again, I know my man Jason, he's going to watch this later, okay? And he's going to say, I've been hearing him talk about get all the shares of Nick Chubb. I've been hearing it, and it's on the Discord chat. So again, look at the description. We have the Discord chat. Join the Win Daily Discord chat. You will hear everything from expert coaches to average players, and even Jigsaw in there every now and then. But everybody in Discord has been hyping up Nick Chubb. I'm going to go on the other end, and I'm going to hype up Kareem Hunt. And the reason why I'm going to hype up Kareem Hunt is because with no Odell Beckham Jr., with a team that stinks, okay, as an inferior opponent of the Houston Texans, this is where I go Kareem Hunt greater than Nick Chubb. This is my week where Kareem Hunt has that ultimate passing week where he gets one or two shots that go down the field and he runs for 40, 50 yards, breaks it out, and we're looking at a century mark game for Kareem Hunt. I just think this game's going to get out of hand. It's at Cleveland. Houston has no business right now being in the NFL. I hate to say it because Tyrod Taylor did the best he could last week. They have no business playing in the NFL. They're a laughing stock. What's going on with the Deshaun Watson situation? It is still a toxic environment. I don't know what's more toxic, them or the New York Giants, what's going on out there with Joe Judge, but that's a story for another day. But we're looking at specifically Kareem Hunt against the Houston Texans. 5,800 goes up a +3. You've seen that if you watch my alternative edge episode from yesterday on the Sharp app. Follow them as well to get all your best bets. I talked about how this number predicated my prop number of 59.5 for receiving yards. Last week, 3 targets for 28 yards. That is going to triple. He is going to get 8 to 10 targets in the passing game this week because now they're going to know they've already been prepared without Odell. And last week, what does he do? He still gives you 17 points as the running back 1B. This week, he's going to be the running back 1A, and I firmly believe he's going to outproduce Nick Chubb and give you guys some very, very good value. Because if you look at this running back position, okay, top guy again, Christian McCaffrey's no secret at 9,900. 9,900. So for $4,100 less, you can get a Kareem Hunt. Now, am I saying that Kareem Hunt is going to outproduce McCaffrey? Hell no. I'm not saying that. But if you can get 80 to 90% of that and save yourself $4,000+, think about the receivers you can add into your lineup. And that's what we're going to talk about tomorrow. So let's stick to the running back position and let's go all the question marks in the offseason. All the question marks were surrounding my man, David Montgomery. Is David Montgomery going to be the guy? Is he going to basically pick off where he left off? Okay. Or is he going to be an ultimate disappointment because Chicago's still rolling out that, a lackluster offense? No. What did he do? He showed everybody that he is here to stay. And I loved every single minute of it. And this week they go up against the Cincinnati Bengals at home. Last week, almost a 7-yard per carry average from David Montgomery. 16 for 108, absolutely scored. Even got a target out of the backfield, okay, for 10 yards. So he absolutely produced it to the tune of 21.8 points at 5,700. He's plus 400. That just means they're expecting him to be a good game. They're expecting him to play up the points. I am all in on David Montgomery to the simple fact that I will take David Montgomery as my running back one this week. Yes, I'm telling you right now, I think this is a big David Montgomery week. Remember those games last year where we talked about having him, 2 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns. He led people to the Super Bowl last year, and those final 5 or 6 weeks. So I think this is the same kind of game that you are going to get. And the biggest thing is Damian Williams, who everybody thought was going to cut in to the David Montgomery carries, only had 6. That's it. Not even close. 20% of the touches went to Damian Harris. Oh my God, there's too many friggin' Damians. 20% went to Damian Williams last week, and I think people were envisioning it was going to be more. Well, it wasn't, which means David Montgomery is the guy that get the lion's share of the carries. So let's go with the other guy in Indianapolis, who I absolutely love, in Nyheim Hines. I love Nyheim Hines. Everybody, look at Nyheim Hines, especially with Carson Wentz at the helm. Okay, you have to look at this matchup. You do, against the Los Angeles Rams. That is a tremendous defensive line. It's a very good secondary. What's going to happen? They are without T.Y. Hilton. That secondary is going to lock down those receivers, and Zach Pascal and Michael Pittman Jr., okay? And what's that going to leave? It's going to leave a ton of dump-offs to Nyheim Hines. Now, last week, what does he do? He still gets the rock running at 9 carries, but most importantly, 8 targets for 48 yards. That is the biggest deal. 8 targets for 48 yards. So, again, I'm looking at the same kind of share this week. 100%. He had 6 receptions out of those 8 targets, so he gave it an 80% ratio from target to reception. I'm going to expect at least 100% this week. I'm thinking Nyheim Hines gets double-digit targets. I do. I think you can expect a 10 to 12 target game for Nyheim Hines. And at 4,700, he could be a great flex option for you when you're building your lines. Last week, I tried the Myles Gaskin effect. He didn't do terrible. Gave me double-digit points, but I expected a little more. This week, I think that flex option belongs to Nyheim Hines, especially going up against a great defense. It's going to be in the backfield a lot. There's going to be a lot of happy feet with Carson Wentz, and we know in Philadelphia that Carson likes to throw the ball to the running back when he gets those happy feet. So, again, for 4,700, I think you have to look at the Nyheim Hines effect. Now, how about this? How about we throw a sleeper out there? Now, in the preseason, we always talked about who is it going to be in Arizona. Is it going to be Chase Edmonds or is it going to be James Conner? And I was in the minority here. I was in the minority because I said it would be James Conner. Okay. And here's what I like about this. I'm not saying that I was right, but what I'm saying is all has to play out. But to see him get 16 carries last week, a very heavy workload, obviously 0 targets, they all went to Chase Edmonds. You see how this is going to work. James Conner is going to be the runner, not Chase Edmonds. So when this team gets up by a lot, and this team obviously is a pass-first offense, they're going to run the ball a lot. Now, I was sadly disappointed at a 3.3 yards per carry because, again, we all talked about, was it the offensive line for his lack of running ability when it comes by yards per carry, or was it James Conner? Well, it looks like it may have been James Conner. 3.3 is pretty lackluster, to say the least. But the thing I like about his longest run of the day was 8 yards. But what I like about it is he got 16 carries. Double-digit carries. And against the Minnesota Vikings, he should excel. And his value only dropped $100, which means I think DraftKings is thinking along the same lines when they predict their model. So I know we have them up there at Win Daily Sports as well. You get all our projection models. Go to windailysports.com. We do a tremendous job. The projection models are absolutely key. Absolutely key. But I'm giving you my solid opinion. This is just me, not looking at projection models, not looking at anybody else's stuff. This is completely Jigsaw on the Fantasy Firebox. And I'm telling you right now, I like Connor as a really big sleeper this week at 4,000. There's no way he doesn't score against this Minnesota Vikings defense. I think this game could get out of hand very early. I think there's going to be a lot of points scored, a lot of yards, and it wouldn't surprise me at the least to see James Conner break the century mark this week for the first time in a very long time. So let's go right in to not only the receiving position, but some more sleepers when we talk about the DFS lineups for Sunday. So let's look at these running backs and let's look at these wide receivers. And you're going to see two Tampa Bay guys right off the bat. Right off the bat, you're going to see two Tampa Bay guys. So I think everybody, again, and I'm not going to say we all predicted it the right way, but I think a lot of people were on Antonio Brown as being the number one guy in Tampa Bay. Not just because of his talent, but because of the way Tom Brady wants to treat this as a reclamation project, the way he wants to show he was able to rebuild the confidence in Antonio Brown and make him the same guy that we've seen in Pittsburgh. Well, I'll tell you what, he didn't disappoint. And he showed that this team, remember, we had the greatest show on turf with Oz Hakeem and Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt and Marshall Faulk. I'll tell you what, and Kurt Warner, this is going to be the greatest show on turf part two, because these guys are just going to be scoring points at will every single week. And I think that $6,600 for Chris Godwin and $6,000 for Antonio Brown are absolutely a steal. I do. I do, because you're talking about the top guy, right? The top guy right now, okay, in the Sunday slate at Stephon Diggs at 7,700. Or I should say, I'm sorry, DeAndre Hopkins at 8,000, and then Stephon Diggs at 7,700. Just looking at DeAndre Hopkins at 8,000, it's a big number. Deservingly so. Double touchdown game last week. Looked like he was unstoppable. He will probably do the same this week against a terrible Minnesota Vikings defense. But I'm looking at this and I'm saying to myself, I think these two guys in Tampa can do a lot of damage against the Atlanta Falcons team that showed the inability to stop guys like Devontae Smith and Jalen Reagor for Philadelphia and Jalen Hurts. So I'm going to go with the tag team here with both of these guys, because I think you're going to get Chris Godwin. He's $1,200 less. So you're going to get $1,800 less than Antonio Brown based off your top receiver in DeAndre Hopkins. And they could essentially give you the same amount of production. So I think these are two guys you absolutely have to look in and lock in on. And Mike Evans, unfortunately, 6,100, kind of a forgotten man, because nothing really went to him red zone wise, right? This was all a Godwin and Brown experiment. So I think Evans will have his games, but again, just like last year, he's going to be the touchdown guy and he's going to be the red zone guy. So if the opportunities aren't existing within the 20s, it's all going to be Antonio Brown and Chris Godwin. And if they have those long yak yards and they have those long yak plays, it's going to be a long year for Mike Evans owners. I'm just telling you. Unfortunately, tried to warn you. I tried to warn you. Hopefully you listened. That's all I got to say. And then we're going to go with three sleepers. Okay. You see what happened to Jerry Jeudy. Unfortunately, the high ankle sprain injury is going to be a season-long event. Okay. A season-long event. Courtland Sutton disappointed again. 1 for 14. Didn't really show up a little bit. I think he'll get more involved as the year goes on. Tim Patrick, big guy. I like his receiving capabilities. You see Bridgewater locked onto him a lot. Noah Fant, 7 for 70 plus, gave you that really good tight end performance. But I'm going to look at PSU's own KJ Hamler, because I think is this going to pivot? Because remember I said that him and Jerry Jeudy were kind of the same type of receiver, just like Tampa Bay. I talked about this before. They were more of the Chris Godwin and Antonio Brown, and Courtland Sutton was more of the Mike Evans. So I think Hamler at 3,800 this week can offer some tremendous value. I do. I really like the Hamler effect this week. And I think because he's not just a gadget guy. He can get open all over the field. And come on, you're playing the Jacksonville Jaguars, and you've seen what happened in Jacksonville last week against Houston. This is a team that you're going to target every week, especially because their defense is very inferior, to say the least. So KJ Hamler taking in for Jerry Jeudy, stepping up, getting more of a presence on the offensive side of the ball last week. 4 targets for 41 yards, but the thing was he had 14 yards per catch, okay, which is good at 22 yards as a long spot as well. So he's going to get more involved, and he's an exciting playmaker. So I think this is a really good role if you're looking for a very cheap, sneaky value in the DFS market when we talk about wide receivers. And talking about cheap and sneaky, how about my boy Hunter Renfrow, who I mentioned in the preseason? Okay, I got killed on this program. Where's my man Ghost at? Not DFS Ghost from Wendell, but my man Ghost on YouTube that hit me up and said, yo, what happened? Did Darren Waller die? Did Darren Waller wasn't there? Well, guess what, man? What did Hunter Renfrow do? What I tell you? He was going to kill it in the middle of the field. They could not cover Hunter Renfrow. 9 targets. So, yes, I told you, I completely understood that Darren Waller was on his team in the tune of 19 targets. Henry Ruggs was not going to be the stud. Okay, Brian Edwards got some playing overtime, but Hunter Renfrow was the main, and he will continue to pay dividends in this offense. I told you that. So don't sleep on him any longer. His value is going to go up. You can get him at 3,600 again this week. He is absolutely going to get you 7 to 8 targets. He's absolutely going to get you 6 to 7 catches, and he's absolutely going to be a PPR machine. So don't sleep on him again. Get him why he's hot. I'm telling you, his value is going to go up. And let's go with a sleeper, okay? And again, we talked about this Arizona game to be a game to target, right? We talked about it. And again, we talked about the wide receiver position evolving out there with guys, obviously D-Hop, and then you have A.J. Green, and then you have Christian Kirk, and then you have the rookie Rondell Moore, who I have to tell you played extremely well. And remember, I said on Sirius Satellite Radio, I said on Win Daily Sports, I said on this program in Fantasy Firebox that I expected Rondell Moore to be the wide receiver 2 in Arizona. And last week, he is on his way to making that mark. 5 targets, gets 4 out of those 5 in his hands, 68 yards, but a 17 yards per catch average, a 29 long spot. I'm telling you right now, Rondell Moore this week will be a guy to own at 4,000 against Minnesota. I expect those targets to go up a +3 to give you 8 receptions, probably 7 yards in the hundreds, and to score a touchdown. This is going to be the a la Justin Jefferson from 2020. This is going to be Rondell Moore's kind of game. Is he going to have a whole season like Jefferson? No, but he's going to give you one of those JJ games that he had last year. Rondell Moore this week, in my opinion, you cannot beat it. You cannot beat it. I think he is a steal. Again, you have to look at these numbers. I'm going to consistently tell you guys that, right? When you break down these numbers and look inside these games, you have to understand that, number one, there's a reason why they formulate these numbers where they do. Number two, you have to be able to analyze them back and forth to see where they go. You just have to. And the value is there. The value is there. Adam, you're too kind. Jigsaw does the stuff. I try, brother. I try. That's all I got to say. So let's end this show with a couple tight ends. Okay, I can't leave out the tight ends. Got to get some tight end love here. Okay, and Buffalo did not produce last week. It's no secret, right? No secret. They were not the team that we thought they were going to be. But again, it's week 1. Everybody relax. Calm down. So one thing I like is I like to pick out a lot of these secret kind of tight ends. And again, I know Dawson Knox last week for Buffalo. Again, you're trying to pick out the sleepers, right? And this is what I try to tell people. You try to pick out the sleepers and you try to see exactly where to go. So Dawson Knox last week, again, 4 targets, 41 yards, nothing to get crazy about. 3,500 this week, okay? And I know he's not on my board. I'm going to add him in, but Dawson Knox, 3,500. I think this is a week against Miami where he can actually come back And he's going to be a red zone guy. So I think they're going to be in the red zone enough to where he can be looked at with the ability to score. So I do like Dawson Knox. But two guys that I think we really have to look at just based on value alone. Okay. And again, sometimes things aren't what they seem. Okay. We already talked about Mac Jones, right? We talked about Mac Jones. So I really like him. We were always talking about what's the tight ends going to look like, right? What are the tight ends going to look like when we talk about the New England Patriots? Well, what do we look on the other side of the map? And we look at the New York Jets, and we have to think about who does Zach Wilson have to throw the ball to? Right? Who does he have? And we've seen Corey Davis break out, which was tremendous, right? Obviously, Jameson Crowder off the COVID list, things of that nature. I get it. People still talking about the Mims factor. I understand. But how about my man Tyler Croft getting it done? 5 targets last week, only 26 yards. But this could be a game where it gets, again, out of hand. And when I set my DFS lineups, I look for these sneaky, low value tight ends. Now, last year, I was all in on Dan Arnold. I played Dan Arnold a lot in Arizona. He was consistently like 26, 2,700. And again, you're looking for a score. That's what you're looking for. You're looking for a guy under 3,000 to give you a score. Now, what I can say on the flip side with David Njoku, okay, for the Cleveland Browns, listen, I've always liked his athleticism. And I know they signed Austin Hooper to be that guy. I get it, right? They gave him a lot of money. And then you still had Harrison Bryant out there running around. But last week, the most productive tight end on that team was David Njoku. And I'll tell you why. Because there was no OBJ. And if OBJ doesn't play again this week, which Adam's saying he's not, and from what I see, I think Adam is right that he doesn't. He played 59%. 59%. Actually played 1% less than Austin Hooper, which means they like Njoku. Listen, you have to look at his build. It's almost like a Darren Waller type tight end, almost like a Kyle Pitts. He actually could be a poor man's Kyle Pitts. He's learning how to run the routes efficiently. And once he does that for this Cleveland team, he's going to be successful. And last week, 5 targets, 3 catches, 76 yards, a 25.3 average. He had a 43-yard pass. You can expect about the same against the Houston Texans, but I think this is a week where he can score and take over some of those target shares from OBJ. I think half go to him, half go to Kareem Hunt, like I mentioned earlier. So I think this could be a really solid play for the Cleveland Browns and DFS. So there we have it, man. Let's review again. Check out Win Daily Sports at Win Daily Sports at windailysports.com. Get your gold membership. Use the NFL 2021 code. Okay, get $100 off. You can't beat it. Get in the Discord chat. All the information is on the YouTube channel. This is the Fantasy Firebox. I am Tony Jigsaw Cutillo, and let's review real quick. We got your quarterbacks at Herbert, Mayfield, and Mac Jones as a sleeper. We got our boy Monty from Chicago, Kareem Hunt, Naheem Hines, and James Conner looking to break out this week against Minnesota. And then we have Godwin, Brown, Hamler looking for a breakout game with no Jerry Jeudy. Hunter Renfrow continues to be consistent. And how about my boy Rondell Moore throwing up possibly a Justin Jefferson game? And then we're going to go with the New York tight end Tyler Croft. Look at Dawson Knox from Buffalo and also David Njoku picking up some of that OBJ slack in Cleveland. But again, as always, great show. Thank you, Adam. He says Eagles 34-31. I'm going to say Eagles 24-20. We'll get back tomorrow. Again, same time tomorrow. Checking out sneaky value stacks when it comes to the DFS market. So as always, everybody stay safe, stay healthy. Tony Jigsaw Cutillo with Daily Sports, Fantasy Firebox. See you